Yes, well, good evening, everybody. Shortly, we're going to be giving you an update after Reform have reported Zach Polanski to the police as he appeared to post in collaboration with a post that saw a man with a T-shirt on it calling for Nigel Farage to be beheaded. The kind, tolerant left, hey? There we go. But before that, it is clear that Andy Burnham is doing absolutely nothing to tackle the illegal migrant crisis. More illegal migrants have crossed the English Channel in his first week as Prime Minister than in Keir Starmer's first week. And I just want to show you this video. So that was reportedly taken on the 20th of June off the coast of Wissant in northern France. Masked illegal migrant men push a woman as she's floating in the water. Then they set sail for Britain. Presumably, Andy Burnham and the left think that these are all poor, desperate refugees. Men like that are coming into Britain, probably as we speak, to be seeded around all of our communities. Then just take a little look at this. The largest migrant boat in history arrived in Britain last week. About 165 people were on board. And let's have a little look at this, shall we? An article from just a few days ago about the Iranian terrorist regime smuggling people to Britain on small boats to carry out their bidding. And there is a quote in the article from an Iranian official saying that they get these people to Britain on the promise that they will act as sleeper cells when the time comes. In recent days, we've seen illegal migrant activity in Dunkirk, Wissant, Boulogne-sur-Mer, and as far down as Dieppe. This is a multi-pronged invasion. Andy Burnham has barely said anything about this. He did say this to the BBC.
Under the current government plans, the suggestion is that people in this country legally, migrants, might have to wait 10 years or perhaps more before they are allowed to stay. Will you carry on with that plan?
Well, that proposal has been under consultation.
And what's your view as the new Prime Minister?
Well, I come in and I am listening to people's views and we'll come to a fair resolution.
Absolute word salad. Total word salad. His spokesperson actually did say this earlier. I think the Prime Minister's been clear in recent weeks that immigration is an issue that matters to people. He's been clear in this reappointment of Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary to continue to deliver the reforms needed to restore fairness to the system and get migration under control. Again, very clever wording that, isn't it, if you don't actually really want to do anything about it. In the last few days, we have seen attacks in Berlin and Paris. I would have thought that Andy Burnham would look at what's going on in the Channel and at least signal some sort of intent there to want to stop the boats on national security grounds. But no, nothing. So that's the illegal stuff. He doesn't seem to care. What about the supposedly legal immigration problem? Well, this is a GB News exclusive for you. A Bangladeshi man who overstayed his visa has now been allowed to stay in Britain because he had a child here whilst we were messing around and not deporting him. Sajid Hussain came as a student in 2012. He's tried and failed to stay legally several times by 2018. He then made an asylum claim in 2018. This was denied in 2023. But because he'd had a child here a year earlier, an immigration tribunal has just decided that he can stay forever because of his rights under Article 8 of the ECHR, right to a family life. What is Andy Burnham going to say or do about cases like that? Here's another one. An Albanian criminal, Shpesim Koka, has been allowed to stay in Britain partly because his daughter wets the bed, so it would be mean to deport him. The 38-year-old arrived in the UK in 2001, claiming to be from Kosovo, so he's lied about his nationality. He has criminal convictions, including a 2017 conviction for helping to launder more than £300,000 in drug money, for which he received 21 months in prison. In 2022, he was convicted for cocaine dealing, which is interesting because you would have thought the clue was in the name of Mr. Coca. He was jailed for 3 years. The Home Office has now successfully appealed the decision to get him deported. But it should never have got to that point, should it? What is Andy Burnham going to do about the fact that these cases keep on coming? The answer is, we don't know. And we don't know because it's not a priority for him. But I bet it's a priority for you. I tell you what we do know, though. Andy Burnham is now thinking of watering down restrictions on care worker visas. Brilliant. Nice one, Andy. The UK government admitted last year that it had lost track of approximately 150,000 migrants who originally entered the country on health and social care visas. Legal and illegal immigration are the biggest problems facing Britain right now. And Burnham is simply not addressing them, whilst hundreds of them waltz into the country every single day. You've worked hard for your money. So why does it feel like your pounds are constantly losing value? Your savings should grow and be safe. It's common sense, isn't it? But here's the truth. Policy impacts inflation, which silently erodes your purchasing power. Don't let inflation decide what your money is worth. And when your money is with your bank, the bank uses it for their purposes. They lend it, they profit from it. Your money works hard for your bank, when it should be working hard for you. This is why people are seeking alternatives to traditional bank savings accounts. With a Tally Money account, your pounds are automatically converted into real physical gold held securely in your name. Not a promise, not just a number on a computer screen, real gold in a vault. And the clever bit? You still have instant access for transfers and payments. Through the Tally Money app and Tally Debit MasterCard, you can transfer funds or spend it in any currency. Gold has been trusted for thousands of years. Now, with Tally, it works more like everyday money. So if you're tired of your savings not keeping up with the cost of living and you'd rather own something real, take a look at Tally Money. To find out more and to get an exclusive GB News offer, simply scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's get thoughts from my panel. We've got Sir Jake Berry from Reform, Daily Express columnist, Carol Malone, a journalist and commentator, Benjamin Butterworth. Carol, I'll start with you. So Burnham is still evading the issues, despite the fact that in his first week, the migrant crisis has been worse than it was under Starmer's, and we've also had this threat from Iran.
In his first week, 881, Starmer's it was 546, but 13,000 so far this year. His silence is becoming a news story now because it is so blatant and so obvious, and he's kind of subcontracting out responsibility for it by having a spokesman say absolutely nothing, as you refer to it, a word salad. But he says he's committed to fixing things. Is he going to push through Shabana Mahmood's reforms? The very strict reforms that just a week ago 80 MPs wrote to him and said they wanted him to kill off this plan. They actually said to him, they said that this is Mahmood's proposals. They said they were an anathema to who we are, what we stand for, and how we do politics, which is basically saying they want an open door policy. Now, Burnham not talking about this means that he either agrees with that, that's what he thinks, that's what he wants, an open door policy, or he's terrified to say anything in case the hard left come down heavy on him. Either way, if he waters down these reforms, his premiership is doomed. He will have the next election to reform.
Jay, I'll bring you in on this. The migrant crisis has actually stepped up in the last week, and these people smugglers, by the way, and the illegal migrants themselves are actually not stupid. And they will be aware, I guarantee you, they will be aware that there is a new Prime Minister in Britain and that at the moment he is seen as a soft touch. They saw that with Starmer, with the Rwanda plan, and they will be aware now that Andy Burnham in the past has said that he will be willing to allow them to work before they've even been processed. So what does he have to do about this now? He cannot keep dodging the questions, can he?
Well, he can't. One thing we did learn from Andy Burnham today in the interview he gave is that he said, look, I was elected on Starmer's manifesto and I will stick to it. And the key plank of that manifesto, we all remember it from the election, was that Keir Starmer, the Labour Party, were going to smash the gangs. It's something they abjectly failed to do in their first 2 years in office. And I think I should be on Andy Burnham now to say, look, Starmer failed. You're the new broom. How are you actually going to change this? We've heard nothing from him. He's had a sort of nice 2 weeks of just giving away other people's money. You can travel cheaply on a bus. Actually, most people actually just want a bus, not a cheap fare. He's given away a bit of money on people's electricity bills. He's given away some intellectual property to Vladimir Zelensky today about how Britain builds drones. So he's given away a load of stuff, but actually in terms of the tough decisions, we've heard nothing from him. And that is the job of being Prime Minister. He wanted it enough. Yeah. It's time he stepped up to it.
Yeah, I mean, Benjamin, it's about priorities, isn't it, surely? And in every single opinion poll, immigration, both legal and illegal, is in the top three. And Andy Burnham has not said anything, really, about it. Why not?
Well, as you pointed out, the Prime Minister's spokesman has given a remark today, and it's been a matter of days. But look, some of what has just been said is just false. You know, you said that the migrant crisis has stepped up, and Sir Jake said that they failed in the first 2 years. This is wrong. In the first 6 months of this year, the number of people crossing into Britain illegally via boats is almost half what it was in the 6 months. It steps up in the last week. Steps up since Burnham's become PM, is what I'm saying.
And
that is 800 people too many. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure that Shabana Mahmood and the Prime Minister would gladly say that when asked. But the fact is the numbers have almost halved in a year. Now, that doesn't happen by accident. That's because of the decisions they've made. That's because of the money that went to France. Mark White, the security correspondent of this channel, even did a package talking about how Labour's actions in France have clearly started to work. To halve the numbers is not a small change. And while it should be a concern that so many have come in this week, to make the story that the thing is getting worse when it is not...
No, the thing is getting worse since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister.
It is a
that is the story.
I'm sorry.
And he's not talking about it.
To attach it to Andy Burnham is ridiculous. There has been no change in policy. No change in the law.
It's just a fact,
no change
right?
in the way that people
it's just a fact. In the last week...
It's not a fact, it's an anecdote.
No, it's not. In the last week, we've had the largest ever boat, the migrant mega dinghy, and we've had confirmation of Iranian sleeper cells. Those are very important things. And Andy Burnham is now Prime Minister. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, you know, Andy Burnham is going to be infinitely worse from now until forever. But I'm saying these are things that have just happened in the last week since Andy Burnham became Prime Minister. The numbers have gone up in the last week, and he is not talking about it.
There's been absolutely no change in the policy, and the policy has almost halved the numbers in a year. I'd also just briefly say that many times on this channel I have said about how the Iranians were using the Channel crossing. So, although the Daily Telegraph claimed the exclusive, I had shared it here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we've also...
A country is entitled to know what its new Prime Minister thinks about its number one concern for this country. And Britain's number one concern is immigration. And while you say the numbers have gone down, and I've seen those figures, and frankly, I don't believe them. But anyway...
Why don't you believe them?
But I've seen the figures. But the bottom
What is
line,
disbelieving?
Let me finish my point, because I'll let you finish yours. The point is that people in the country don't feel they're going down because communities are being invaded by hordes of young men who are being plonked in the middle of quiet communities and allowed to roam free. That is not good. And people have a right to know what our new Prime Minister is going to do about that.
OK.
And on the issue of legal migration,
exactly,
which you touched on briefly in that piece, really interesting to see those two cases that you brought to the attention of viewers and listeners. Nothing can happen about that till we leave the ECHR. And one thing we do know about Andy Burnham, the Labour Party, is that they won't leave the ECHR. Now, Nigel Farage has been really clear. He has said that if he is the next Prime Minister, we will leave the ECHR. In all fairness to Kemi Badenoch, she said that new Conservative MPs should sign up to it. I just remember when I was a Conservative MP and campaigning for it, she was opposed to it. But, you know, give her a credit, she may have changed her mind. So the right of British politics is united and understands that until we leave the ECHR, we cannot do anything about bad legal migrants who come into this country to commit crimes. And until Andy Burnham says he's going to sign up to that, there's probably not very much he can do.
What do we do about that? You know, these cases, like, for example, the Bangladeshi guy, I mean, he's just one of... There are like, thousands of these cases, right? It's a tale as old as modern times, where, you know, you turn up at a country on a student visa, you overstay the student visa, you try to claim asylum, you get rejected, you have a kid, you stay. Right, what is Andy Burnham going to do about that stuff? Because he's not talking about that either.
Well, some of these examples sound like those people shouldn't be here. The idea that the ECHR is a block to doing that is false, because Denmark is a signatory and it has not behaved in the same way. So
what's he going to do about the immigration judges?
It has deported far more people.
Is he going to call them out?
And so the government is capable of doing it. And let's be clear,
they're not. The judiciary are independent. What can the government do?
The number of people... Well, they can change the laws that the judiciary have to implement. The number of people coming across the channel almost halved. The number of people being deported up. The number of people getting asylum claims down. The number of legal immigrants down 4/5.
Highest asylum backlog in history.
This is all the right direction. And I'm afraid it is misleading to criticise the Labour government.
And we also point out that for 3 months this year, the weather was chronic. It rained constantly in this country and crossings are quite
Carol,
hard
on our
to do.
fourth consecutive heat wave.
Yes, in the last month, Benjamin.
And we had
but
a
I'm
week with
talking
zero
about
crossings.
4 months before that, the weather was atrocious and crossings were very difficult.
The idea we've had bad weather this year is as ridiculous as everything else in this debate. We had 7 days without a single person crossing.
It does depend on wind direction, though.
Yes, it absolutely is. And the weather was good. But more importantly,
There's more than enough wind in this
Burnham's silence
tonight.
shows that he's going to take Labour back into its comfort zone, which is open to all comers, and that's the point.
Correct.
That's how he feels, and that's what it's...
Just on the point of law, though, you're not right, Benjamin. Judges, we can't blame them. They implement the law as they're independent from politicians. They implement the law as they see it. Until we leave the ECHR, they cannot ignore the 1,000 plus decisions that come from the European Court. Parliament can't do anything about it, and that's actually why we should leave, because actually if you elect politicians...
Germany
a Labour government in Denmark.
Yeah.
They did. Look, yeah, well, wait a second. I mean, look, obviously this is linked to, and the two people responsible for the Berlin attack and the Paris attack, there's no indication yet, by the way, that either of them were illegal migrants or anything, but it's a point, isn't it, really? If you've got Iran there saying that, or definitely bringing people over on small boats, and we've just seen 2 attacks in 2 different European capitals, what is it going to take for Andy Burnham to declare some kind of national emergency? We're going to talk more about the specifics of those latest attacks and the left's response, comical response to them, at 10 p.m.
Andy Burnham has been Prime Minister for less than a fortnight, and already the Channel is busier than the M25 on a bank holiday. Coincidence? GV News says absolutely not. Stick around, because this one gets messy fast. If you enjoy this, hit that subscribe button. It's free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Right, let's get into it. First up, the numbers. In Burnham's opening week as PM, crossings reportedly hit 881, compared with 546 in Keir Starmer's first week. That is not a rounding error. That's a jump critics are pointing straight at Downing Street's new occupant. Add in footage from Wissant on the French coast, allegedly showing men forcing their way onto a boat, and reports of the largest single crossing in UK history landing last week, and you can see why the story writes itself. But here's where it gets properly spicy. Some commentators have floated the idea of Iranian-linked networks using small boats to move people quietly into Britain. Whether or not you buy that, it's the kind of claim that turns a policy debate into a security headline overnight. So what has Burnham actually said about it? Cue the BBC interview clip. Lots of listening, lots of fair resolution, not much else. Critics have labelled it word salad, and honestly, it's hard to argue when the strongest commitment on offer is a reshuffled cabinet and a promise of vague future reform. Now, let's talk courts, because this is where the story usually gets its teeth. GB News has highlighted cases where deportations were delayed on human rights grounds, pointing the finger at Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, the right to family life. It's an easy villain, except, hang on, Denmark is also signed up to the same convention and manages to deport considerably more people than Britain does. So maybe the problem isn't the treaty. Maybe it's how it's being applied here. Judges, for what it's worth, are simply enforcing the law Parliament gave them. If you want different outcomes, you change the law, not the judge. There's also the other side of this coin that doesn't get nearly as much airtime. Overall, illegal crossings are reportedly down close to 50% year on year, credited partly with funding deals with France. So, is this a genuine crisis unfolding under a new Prime Minister, or one very loud week being stretched to fit a narrative? Either way, immigration keeps landing in the top 3 concerns in every poll going. And Burnham's Downing Street hasn't said where it stands on Rwanda, on leaving the ECHR, or on Shabana Mahmood's reform plans, which 80 of his own MPs are reportedly unhappy about. Silence is a strategy too. The question is whether it's one that survives contact with the next headline. Thanks ever so much for watching.